Hi everyone, it's Mark here again. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're a growing global community of over 170,000, I think now, across our 8 arts and culture LinkedIn groups. And I don't get to meet everyone, as you can imagine, but when I do, it's a delight. And that's certainly the case today because Charilyne Rojas has joined me. Charilyne, thank you for joining me for this today.
Thank you for having me, Mark. I'm excited to be here.
We're going to have some fun, but before we do that, I'm going to we're going to create your fantasy cultural year from the work that you do and your superpowers and your passions. I've got it all lined up in my head already, which is great. But thank you so much for being one of our full members. It's very much appreciated because, as you know, we're entirely member funded as a community. So that makes it all possible. And wherever possible, we send donations from our membership revenue to members in need. So it'll help. So thank you for that. Now you're based in Texas, aren't you? In Dallas.
That's correct, Dallas, Texas.
And I've just heard the Charilyne story, which is great. And we're both musicians, and so we've been swapping tales and anecdotes already. But before I create your fantasy cultural year, I wonder if you'd be kind enough to just say hi to everyone and tell us a bit more about the work that you're doing.
Sure. Well, again, I'm happy to be here. I am a music educator. I work for the Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra, and I'm also an arts administrator. So I serve on both the artistic and administrative teams. I conduct the youngest orchestra, the Young Performers Orchestra, one of 10 ensembles in our program that serves nearly 500 students from across North Texas. And I'm also our communications director. I manage our social media, external marketing, and alumni activities.
That's brilliant. And you've reminded me of a saying that people used to say back in the day about musicians. If you can play, you play. If you can't play, you teach. And if you can't teach, you administrate. But that's no longer the case, is it? Because you're a walking example of doing all of those things brilliantly. And as you pointed out, that you may not have been able to do that as a full-time role if those skills hadn't been combined in that way. It's a very clever thing for the orchestra to do because they've got your wonderful talents and expertise in different areas, and it's almost like you're doing it's one person doing a job share.
Thank you. Yes, that's correct. Thank you for the kind words first. But I definitely think in our day and age that it is essential for musicians and artists to have a versatile skill set, especially when it comes to marketing, because nobody will know what you're doing or the amazing art that you're creating without being able to push the message out there and market yourself. So I agree that the orchestra made a smart move with me. I think it's the direction that a lot of artists are going and musicians. I see a lot of entrepreneurial coursework now in universities, and I think it's again essential for all artists to have that skill.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. My background is in music and brand and marketing as well, and I'm doing a talk actually next month for our community around Parella. Parella, Parela, is my acronym for the universal chronology of customer engagement. So it starts with P, which is perception. If you get that right, everything else is easier. What makes you different and special, and what will they remember about the work that you're doing? Then A is awareness, which is where most people are stuck, in my experience. R is recall. They get to know you and then you let them forget. E is engagement, where they actually engage with you. L is loyalty, and A is advocacy. And if you're Apple, Harley Davidson, or Nike, then you've made it all the way to advocacy. And there's an army of people out there doing your marketing for you. So, yeah, it's fascinating. I think it's great that you have the opportunity to do both the left and the right brain stuff as well, as part of your career.
It's
Wonderful.
very
That's
fulfilling for me, but I love that acronym. I need to take some notes now.
there we go. Well, we're recording the summary and we're recording this, but
Great.
we're now on the 22nd of August in 2025. That talk's on the 4th of September. It's just a 10-minute webinar based on basically, why each of those bits important, because we do, you're right, creatives and any freelancers really, the harsh reality is that at any single time, insufficient numbers of the right people even know you exist. And
That's right.
that's a challenge. And even the ones that do, only 3% of them are ready to buy. So it's a proper challenge. So it's a delight to meet a musician and a marketer. So it's great. Excellent.
Well, I love the work that you're doing at ACN, so I'm happy to be a full member.
Oh, that's great, because our motto is choose people who will say your name in a room full of opportunity. And that's how
I
we
love that.
roll. We're independent as well. So we don't have any advertisers or sponsors or grant making bodies telling us what to do. So it's we're a little bit pirate in that respect.
Well, your LinkedIn presence is excellent, I have to say.
Well, that's very kind. I was an early adopter of LinkedIn, and that's why we did this on LinkedIn. I think
That's
LinkedIn's
how I
approach.
found you all.
Yeah. I think LinkedIn is approaching 1.2 billion members now, and when they reached a billion, I got a message from them saying thank you for being one of the first 100,000. So
Wow.
that was back in 2003, I think. So it made sense to do this. But the other thing you'll find amusing as a marketing expert is I was interviewed for a marketing podcast recently, and they said, Mark, what was your strategy for creating a community of 160,000? And I said, negligence, ineptitude, and procrastination.
And
And
you
it's
work with artists?
yeah, yes. So, and there's probably a blog post in that, because it's partly true, because when I set the group up in 2010, I promptly forgot all about it, and it grew on its own, alongside the growth of LinkedIn, especially for creatives. And so we had 18,000 members by the time we got to lockdown for COVID. And that's when it really
Wow.
took off, because I was
That's a lot
hosting.
of growth in 10 years.
Yeah, well, now we're up to I think we're just about 170,000 now. So, which is great. And
And
it's
I'm sure your organization became even more essential during the pandemic. I know we had to pivot as well with our programming for a couple years.
yeah. Well, it's kind of you to describe it as an organization. It's just me and Isabel on a Friday. We're much bigger on the outside than we are on the inside, but
That's how
yes,
it
we did.
that's how it usually goes for especially for arts and nonprofit organizations, isn't it?
Oh
And
yeah.
you wear multiple hats and
You're looking
that's
at the marketing department, the technical department, the
how
the PR department.
that's how I found the transition from teaching to nonprofit management and leadership to be um, quite seamless because it's so similar in a lot of ways. Managing a school music program and managing a professional orchestra or organization,
Mm,
very
yeah,
similar. A
very
lot of
similar.
parallels.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. Everyone will feel as though they've got to know what makes you tick now a bit better, which is great. So we're going to have some fun. I don't know whether you've seen any of the interviews that I've done. It doesn't matter if you haven't. In fact, it's rather good if you haven't, because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
what to expect. So
Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to place you somewhere in the world, and I'm going to do that by asking you, what's your favorite building?
oh my goodness. Okay. I have a favorite building here in Dallas, but I also have a favorite building that I'd really love to see. So I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to say the Paris Opera House.
Okay. Paris Opera. Oh, yes. Right. I'm just finding it so that we can show. Oh, they've got La Boheme on at the moment there.
Oh,
Um,
very nice.
we've got Tosca coming to London next month. I'm going to show
Oh,
everybody your favorite building. There we go. So there's the Paris Opera. Look at that. Right. Okay, Charilyne, I'd like you to imagine that you're sitting at a pavement cafe and that's your view. Can you see it?
Oh, yes, I can see it now.
You're sitting here just behind the camera position. It's a June evening and it's sunny and you've been admiring the view, having done a tour inside the Paris Opera. Um, and there's a drink on the table next to you. What would we find there?
Well, being in France, I think it would have to be a French 75.
Is that a wine?
Oh, it's a cocktail.
A
It's
cocktail?
yes, it's named after, I believe, artillery used in World War One. It's a champagne-based cocktail.
Wow, that's new to me. That's fantastic. I'm gonna
That's
have
so
to
interesting because I have a friend in France who also said it was new to her. So maybe they don't serve those in Europe, but they're
possibly.
popular here.
Yeah, the same thing happens with Indian food. I think one of the favorite dishes in the UK is a chicken tikka masala.
Oh,
Um,
those are, yeah, that's a delicious dish.
but they don't have those in India. So brilliant.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so we're going down to the local pub later. I'm gonna ask them for a French 75 and see what happens, and I'll let you know because
Yes,
you
please
should
let me know what
know.
you think. If, well,
Yeah.
if they serve it.
Okay, and next to the French 75 on the table is a book. It could be a recent discovery. It could be your favorite book, a book that's been with you all your life, or a book that's changed your life. What book would we find next to you there?
Okay, so that's a great question. I'm looking up the book that I just recently started reading, but I'm a big fan of self-help and self-development books. I am also a big fan of, I I believe her name is Brianna Weist, and one of her books that changed my life is The Mountain Is You. And I recently started reading The Life That's Waiting. So
Wow,
I would say one of those, one of her books.
perfect. That sounds great. Now you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you've just come from a meeting in the Paris Opera, okay, with a wealthy Parisian family foundation who like to support research and projects in the arts. Okay, they've
Great.
got wind of your multi-talented approach, okay, to work, but more importantly, they're very impressed with the work that you do with really young kids as they're sort of emerging into music at early stages. And they're also quite fascinated with La Sistema in is it Venezuela or Colombia? I can't remember.
Yes, El Sistema.
El Sistema, and so they would like to hire you for a year. Okay, you're going to get a sabbatical approval from the orchestra. Um, it'll all be covered. All your admin will be covered at home. Replacements will be found to hold down the job that you're doing at the moment. But it's an incredible opportunity to travel the world. The fee is quite generous. It's first class all the way. They would like you to create a global league table for called Music for Youth. Okay. I'm you stealing that name because we have an organization here in London called Music for Youth. They'd like to identify where in the world investment is needed to improve that process. And they've decided you're the person to go and find out. So you'll be traveling the world. There will be a film crew following you because it's going to be turned into a TV series. There is a book deal. You'll be doing a TED talk when you get back, and you'll then be given the opportunity to do a global university lecture tour to explain what you found in various parts of the world and how different national societies introduce their children to music. How does
Wow,
that
Mark,
sound?
I think you are, I hope you are manifesting for me because that sounds like an incredible year and just an incredible opportunity. I don't know if you saw how big I was smiling,
I
but
did. Yeah.
yeah,
Somebody,
it does
one of,
sound like a dream year.
yeah, I I did this with somebody a few weeks ago, and she started crying when I finished describing it because it was just all she wanted to do. It was just fantastic. She said, "Please set up a travel agency so I can book this." But, okay,
I wish, but
yeah,
I'm also a big supporter of arts advocacy and accessibility, and also accessibility to music education. So I think, though I'm not particularly trained in the El Sistema program, I'm familiar with it. I've watched the documentary and read the book. I love the idea behind it, and to be able to support that on a global scale would be an incredible
yeah.
opportunity.
It doesn't have to be that program. They just want you to understand the landscape so that they can invest in development projects. So,
And I also think early childhood music education is very interesting,
mm,
um, and something I became more interested in as a parent as well. So I just think the whole idea is fabulous.
excellent. Well, you're going to become the go-to commentator for music for young people in an educational scenario, and the book deal is there as well. So your friends and family can come and visit while you're away. So the first thing I need to ask you then is, in what city and in what country would you like to start?
That is a very good question. Hmm. Well, I have always wanted to explore the East Coast here, um, specifically Boston or New York. And I think there are a lot of similar youth music programs there as well. But
Okay.
one of the reasons that I joined ACN was because of the European connections, and um, I've been looking at opportunities abroad as well. So I've also been really interested in the UK. I think it's the easiest starting point probably for an English speaker. So
Mm,
I don't know. It's hard to decide. One of those three areas, but maybe I would say Boston for now.
okay. So you're on the plane. Okay. You turned left on the plane because you're traveling first class, and the steward brings you a French 75 and a note from the Family Foundation in Paris, and they've got a musical challenge for you. So they'd like you to limit your musical listening to one very specific genre or type of music for 12 months, to the exclusion of all else. What would you pick?
That is very interesting. Okay, I think I'll have to go with the Romantic period. My favorite period of classical music.
Brilliant. Love it. So the composers on your playlist would be which?
um, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, probably the big two. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Charilyne, would you mind drawing the blinds behind you a little bit? Because
Oh,
I think
sure.
we're losing a bit of that's better. We can see you a bit better. Beautiful. That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
Um, and you'll have seen that, everyone, because we don't edit these. Um, okay, so you arrive in Boston, and you're you're whisked to Boston Symphony Hall. I played there several times, which is great. And you're met by a group of young musicians and teachers, and they've taken you under your wing, under their wing. They've whisked you to a beautiful loft apartment overlooking the city, and they said, right, make yourself comfortable, unpack. We're coming back later to take you to a dance performance and then out to dinner. Okay. Now, I have a magic wand and a time machine that for this part of it. And I can put any dance performance on the stage in front of you. It can be any dancer, living or not, any group, any style. What dance-based performance would you like to watch for a couple of hours if you could go back in time and wave a magic wand at the stage?
I have always wanted to see the Moscow Ballet perform Swan Lake.
Mm. That might be the Bolshoi, wouldn't it? The Bolshoi Ballet
Yes, I
in
think
Moscow.
so.
Yeah. Yes. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Okay. You can have that. And what about a national cuisine for dinner afterwards?
I think my favorite food is Italian, so it would have to be an Italian restaurant.
Okay, perfect. Now, we're going to buzz again from Boston, so you can go to one of those other two that you shortlisted. Where are we going?
Let's go to London.
Excellent. Okay, it's that's handy because I can meet you. Um,
And pardon my dogs. I don't know if you can hear them, but I have
no, I
a
think
German
Zoom does a
Shepherd.
good job of covering
Okay,
it all.
good.
Okay, so we're in London now. It's Sport Day in the UK when you arrive, and we had breakdancing in the Olympics last year. So some sports are considered performance art. And if, again, with a magic wand, I can put any sport in front of you for a couple of hours, what would you love to watch?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I really enjoy, I'm assuming this is the Summer Olympics.
Just any sport, any sport.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I really enjoy gymnastics. I think
Okay.
there's so much artistry behind that. Um, but I also really enjoy ice skating. That's why I asked about the season. I love the ice skating routines and also the music and in their routines. So
Yeah.
I think I'm
There's a
gonna go with ice
wonder.
skating actually.
Well, we'll do a double header for you. We'll allow
Okay.
both. Okay. There's a wonderful video on YouTube of a couple, a young brother and sister dancing in Brown Square, I think it is in New York, when they have the ice rink there, and I think they're dancing to Sound of Silence by Disturbed or something like that.
Wow.
It's incredible. I'll send you the video. It's wonderful.
Oh, please do.
Um, and then so that's ice skating, and the other one was forgot what that
Gymnastics.
gymnastics. Well, it just so happens that the World Championships are happening in London, and it's a double header too. It's traditional gymnastics and rhythmic gymnastics, which is arguably even more creative. Excellent. Okay. Now, also in London, there is a new digital art gallery that's enhanced. So you can put on a virtual reality headset and you can
Oh,
step into the work of a famous artist and it becomes three-dimensional. It's movement, it's 360 degrees. It's not one of those immersive experiences that you walk around in. You're actually in it with the headset. You can see in 3 dimensions what the artist couldn't show us in two. So whose work would you like to step into in those
oh
circumstances?
my goodness. This is a really great question. The first thing that comes to mind, and it's actually probably my favorite orchestral work because it was the first that I ever had on a CD and first I was ever exposed to as a child, is Pictures at an Exhibition. I just love that piece. And there's
Wow.
something about it, the colors and it just, I remember being a young violinist and thinking, this isn't what I thought classical music sounded like. This isn't what I thought a symphony orchestra could sound like. And it just defied the odds for me. So I think that would be the piece. I think it would be so interesting. And it would also almost be like, stepping into Russia at the great gates of Kiev. And,
Yeah, the Great Gates of Kiev. That's the best. That's my favorite bit. Yeah.
yes.
Fantastic. That's a great one. Now, we're going out every night, Monday to Friday, together in London.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
On Monday night, we're going back in time to a historic musical performance that you'd like to re-experience. On Tuesday, we're going to the theatre. Wednesday, we're going to a Broadway or West End musical. Thursday, we're going to the opera, and Friday, we're going to the movies. Okay.
Okay,
So
this is all, that's my dream week right there. Just full of
so
art and culture.
so is there a musical performance that you attended or took part um, in the past that you'd love to be able to go back and experience again?
That's a really good question. Because in my mind, I was thinking like like a historical musical performance, but you're asking
You
about
can
one
no,
I
you can do that. You can do
performed in. Okay.
either something that you'd love to have been like the first rehearsal of Beethoven's Eroica, for example.
Oh,
Uh,
yes,
that,
that.
have you seen the BBC program about that?
No, I haven't, but I need to add it to my list.
Yeah, it's on the BBC website. It's called Eroica. It's an account of the first time they tried to play through it, you know. And there's that lovely bit where the horn comes in unexpectedly out of the key that the piece is in. Da, 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 dee, da. And
Uh-huh.
everyone thinks he's come in a bar early, but Beethoven said, no, that was right. It was brilliant. And then
That
Haydn turns
sounds
up.
that sounds like a winner to me. Also, I think the first rehearsal of his ninth
Yeah,
would be when he was, already deaf, and it would have been so interesting to see how that went.
yeah. I'd also like to go back to 1913 for the premiere of The Rite of Spring to find out
Oh,
what all the
yes.
fuss was, because there was a riot.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
it's 100 years later, it's mainstream classical music, but at the time it caused a riot. I'd love to know why. Excellent. We'll do all of those.
Okay, sounds great.
Now we're in London, and of course we've got Shakespeare's Globe handy. Um, would you like to go and see some Shakespeare?
I would love to see some Shakespeare. I have to admit, I'm quite dusty from my from my Shakespeare experiences in my youth, but we have a great organization here in Dallas. It's called Shakespeare Dallas, and they perform Shakespeare outdoors. I'm sure, like many organizations around the world as well. And I think the last performance that I saw was Macbeth. I think
Mm,
that would be fun to watch in London.
we'll do that. The Scottish play. There we go. Excellent. Now it's Wednesday, and we're going to do a Broadway or a West End musical. Which one would you like to see?
Definitely Broadway. I have a lot of favorite shows. But the one I've wanted to see, which I've heard is excellent in London, is the Book of Mormon.
Mm, yeah, controversial but brilliant.
Yeah,
Still running, so there must be something good about it. Yeah,
I've
I
heard
haven't
it's
seen that.
hilarious.
I haven't seen it, but it's had great reviews. It's kind of like theatre does the life of Brian in its kind of irreverence in that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great
But
choice.
I would say I mean, I love the last show I saw was Hamilton in Chicago. That's, classic. And I love a lot of classic Broadway as well. My Fair Lady
Mm,
and some others. But I think lately I've really been hooked on the last 5 years. And some people have not heard of it, but yeah, it just really hits home for me. And it's a special musical.
that's great. Some great ones there. I'm scribbling these down so I can make a note, because I learn an awful lot doing this hundreds of times.
Oh, good.
I get everyone's recommendations. And are you an opera fan, Charilyne?
I want to go more. I am an opera fan, but I haven't been to the opera as much as I would like.
Okay, so we're in London. We'll go to the Royal Opera House in Covent Garden. And because it's there next month, we'll do Tosca, I think, Puccini's Tosca. There
That
we go.
sounds wonderful. You have to have
Now,
Italian dinner before that too.
yes, Italian.
Yes.
Italian. Um, excellent. Now, Friday, we're nearly there. Friday is movie night. What are we going to see on a big screen with wonderful sound?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I love film. So I think this is a hard one. Okay, hold on. Give me a second because there are a lot of classics that I love. Probably one of my favorites is again on the Italian theme is Roman Holiday. I would love to watch that.
Lovely. Who's that? It's Audrey
It's
Hepburn,
Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, remember that. She's the princess who gets lost, isn't she? In that one.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
brilliant. Now there we go. That's our introduction to your fantasy cultural year. You're going to travel the world and do all this wonderful research and work and projects, and report back to the Wealthy Family Foundation back at the Paris Opera. Before I send you off on this lovely trip, I'm going to give you what I call the hero lunch. So I booked an Italian restaurant in London, three-star Michelin star restaurant in London, um,
Wow.
and for a leisurely 2-hour lunch. And you can invite one person. You can invite anyone you like, living or not,
Okay.
historical or current, famous or otherwise. Who would you invite for lunch?
Oh my goodness. Such great questions. Hmm. There are a number of female heroes that I have. I think it would be so interesting to meet um, a past female composer. I'm going to say Amy Beach. I
Amy
really enjoyed her
Beach.
music. Yeah. And I would love to know what it was like to live in her time and create music in her time.
So Amy Beach, that's great. So who would Amy invite, do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't really know like who her circles were or contemporaries were, but I'm going to say um, Fanny Mendelssohn.
Excellent. Amy Beach and Fanny Mendelssohn and you having an Italian lunch in London. There you
Yes,
go. That would be fun. So there you are. That's your fantasy cultural year, Charilyne. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have you?
I have. I feel like this is very inspiring just to think outside the box and dream big. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, you did a great job in this. I've made notes of things that I can follow up on there. So thank you once again. Wherever this appears, there'll be a profile about you on YouTube, on our website, on SoundCloud and Spotify, so that we can all share them widely. And thanks again for being one of our full members. It's very much appreciated. Don't rush off, but for the time being, thank you so much, Charilyne.
Thank you for having me and thank you for all the work that you are doing.
Thank you so much.